all things Aries, as I am an Aries, and we love talking about ourselves, don't we? It's a common trait of Aries is very much the I am of the signs. I think the Taurus are generally known as the I have. Uh, Gemini would be I think, and should probably do a run through of them at some point. But this is all things Aries, so I'll try and stay on topic as much as I can. So just a brief introduction, I guess, to anyone that's not really a fan of astrology, people that see astrology as the people that try and sell you a fortune, the kind of mystic megs, the people that will tell you that this will happen in your future based on the energies that surround your sign and your placements of the planets on the day that you were born, your natal chart. I don't subscribe to the idea that we are living in a world that things are fixed like that. I don't think that the future is a fixed thing. I think that when it comes down to your life, you are in control of it, no one else. It's very easy to believe that people are walking through a fated reality, everything is out of our control, and you get prophecies that people make that later have turned out to be true. So that tends to lead people to believe that we're just actors with our paths already chosen for us. Whereas I believe that if you were to run on autopilot, yeah, these energies are there and they will guide you a certain way. But if you're not walking around on autopilot and you're being an autonomous creation, you are aware of what's going on in your surroundings. Things don't pan out like that. You can make a conscious choice. You can change this path that has been led for you. I mean, if you want to run on autopilot, then that's fine. That's your choice to do so. But that's when you'd find that the things that you do would naturally fall in place with the things that people would start predicting. It's like often I'll listen to someone's interpretation of the planets, and when I'm conscious of what I'm doing, I look back on it and go, well, that didn't happen. I ended up doing this, which pulled away from what was predicted. Whereas at other times when I've not been paying attention, I'll go back and read something and realize that I've actually acted it out exactly the way as it was predicted. So I feel that that is really how it works. You've got things that happen if you run on autopilot, things that happen if you're not really paying attention to what you're doing, if you're just going about your day. Autopilot is kind of self pilot, so it's like you're letting the ego take over, as ego just means self or I in Latin. So the idea of having an ego death is a bit silly, really. It's a bit like someone saying, like, yeah, someone saying, I got rid of my ego, don't have an ego anymore. Ah, hi, the gamer. How's it going? Great to have you with us. My day is going brilliant so far, I have to admit. I can't complain. I have a wonderful partner who's busy collecting some awesome cats for me in the game called Monster Hunter that we've been playing together. So, got that to look forward to when I'm done the streaming. Yeah, otherwise, it's not been too sad. So, how about yourself, the gamer? How's your day going? Ah, hey, little Ruru, how's it going? Great to have you with us. So yeah, oh wow, 6 people watching already. I usually waffle on a little bit. This is usually the section that people catch up on later when they're watching after it's been released. A Triple X Temptation fan, hello. Hey, how's it going? Ah, hey Siddiqui, how you doing? It's great to have you with us. I'm glad you could make it. So yeah, this is me talking about being an Aries, basically. As I was born in this month, this is actually the day I was born. This is my solar return. So this is me having a day of just talking about Aries, the fire ram. Just done a brief introduction to what I think of astrology, if any of you wanted to go back and catch that. Otherwise, I'm just going to mention what Aries is. So Aries being a fire sign. Ah, hang on a sec. Dizel fan. Hello, how's it going, Dizel fan? I'm not sure if I'm getting your name right. 1 second. Dies Elfin. Either way, hey, how's it going? Not so great with names, especially when it comes to the names. Wow, 11 viewers already. Nice one, Triple X Temptation fan. Down to 7. Ah, see, they not liking me waffling on now. I'm afraid that's what you're gonna get. That's just how Aries are. We love talking, especially about ourselves, especially when it comes to topics like Aries. That's pretty much the Aries motto is I am. It's all about identification. Ah, Peter's here. Hey, Esme, how's it going? Ah, the gamer subbed. Awesome. Cheers for your support. It's great to have you with us. I'll be doing plenty more talks like this. This is early days yet. I've only just gotten used to doing live streams. Actually, we love you. Ha, awesome. I feel the love. Like, yeah, this is me getting used to doing live streams. I'm pretty much a dinosaur when it comes to these things, so I'm starting to do things, starting to learn how to do the chats without pressing a button that cancels it. And my first one I done, everything was tilted to the side for about the first hour. Ah, Turbo Munch. Ah, Diesel fan, you're my 100th sub. That's awesome. I'm afraid there's no prize. I should probably have some kind of thing set up, a shout out, a personal shout out for being the 100th sub. So there, that was a pretty good one. Ah, Triple X Temptation fan has subbed as well. Awesome. I appreciate your support, guys. Epic One Siddiqui, love the support. Turbo Munch is asking, do I have dreads or is the do-rag for show? I have a dreaded part of my hair here. Sadly, it's not proper dreads. It's just bunched up hair where I haven't managed to separate it properly from ages ago when I was separating it, or I was working too much and I let it get into a horrible state. The gamer is asking, what do I like doing and what is an Aries? Aries is a fire ram. It's one of the 12 signs of the zodiac. So got on here a little 12 signs of the zodiac. You got the Aries being the fire ram, would be the first one of the signs. So it's the start of the new year. We've just reached the spring equinox, where the day and night is of equal length, and it's considered one of the 4 fixed points in the zodiac. Well, you got the 4 fixed signs, which is Taurus the bull, Leo the lion. You got the Scorpio, which is often represented with an eagle, and the Aquarius represented with a man, which is the 4 cherubim, if you ever see them on flags. So then Aries is the head. It's the first one. Diesel fan, how do I know my star sign? When were you born? What was your birthday? It's the star sign is where the sun was on the day that you were born. What house of constellations it was situated in when you look up and see the sun. Where it's it I think rises. I actually need to check that. I'm not sure if it's where it rises or where it sets. 18th December. So that would be Sagittarius, I believe. You've got from the 21st, roughly 20th, 21st, 22nd of each month is the start of the new sign. So being that it's in 18th of December, sensation, the 2nd of December, you're both Sagittarius. So Sagittarius would be the centaur or the archer with the bow and arrow. So it's a duality sign. Sagittarius is a fire sign as well. And the Sagittarius represents the body. The part of the body it represents is more the hips. It's also the hippocampus if it's in the brain. So if it's a part of your brain, it's the area of the brain. The hippocampus is what deals with spatial awareness. They say that the reason they chose the centaur, which is a half man, half horse, is because the Sagittarians are so good at riding the horse, which is the symbolism for the body, that you can't really tell where the horse rider ends and the horse begins. It's like they act as one in perfect harmony. The gamer, I'm Christian. That is awesome. If you were to check out Triple X Temptation fan is Jewish. That's awesome. People of all religions are of course welcome here. you find that in the New Testament, there's quite a lot of references to the Bible, to the zodiac, as you get the four fixed signs of the zodiac. Then you've got the four Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four main apostles, which are the four seasons. And awesome, I got it right, brilliant. So yeah, the idea of a lot of religions tend to look at things like astrology and say it's the work of the devil, or that it's icon worship or something along those lines, which I imagine there are people out there that try and use it for those kind of things, but that's not what it is. It's not what was created. Anything in this realm is created or at least permitted by God. Therefore, any of this stuff is not created evil. It's like a hammer. A hammer is not an evil creation. It's something that was created for using. It's something that's very useful. And you've got, you can use it to murder someone or to build a house. So, Little Monkey, of course I remember you. You came on that day with Rimuru and a few others. That is a fan underrated streamer. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So yeah, the idea of this talk was about Aries. Going to be talking about myself quite a lot, which is quite an Aries trait. Another Aries trait, as we're the beginning of the zodiac, we tend to love starting things and not so great at finishing things. It's we'll often be starting a lot of different things at once. Like on my Duolingo app, where I'm learning a language, I've got the first couple of languages that I started, like Japanese and Romanian. I've got Arabic on there. They're like the three main ones that I do. And I've got about 12 others that I've just accumulated along the way because I get bored and wander off and start doing something else. Aries put the A in ADHD. It's just very much being a bit in chaos in the mind. Diesel fan also learn Japanese on Duolingo. Jinx, it's awesome for learning Japanese. It's got very good, especially if you're learning how to read and write in kana. Arabic is a good language. It is. It's actually become one of my favorites to learn. The gamer, can I teach a few facts about Aries before I start? Okay. So you got Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it represents the head on the body. So you've got like Aries is the head, whereas Taurus would be the neck and shoulders. Aries is ruled by Mars. So Mars is the ruler of Aries. It's the red planet, and it's also the fire planet. So it kind of fits for the sign of Aries, which is a fire sign. Today is Tuesday, which is also known as Mardi in French, which is Mars's day. So it quite fits the theme. I'm wearing my Aries hoodie today, red head noodle. Can I say something in Arabic? Shukran, ya little monkey. Um, what else could I say? Dejej ber ayadi. One sec. How well can I read? So, konnichiwa, watashi no uh, not entirely sure. I recognize the kanji, but I can't remember if that's. It might be Tomodachi. No. Wa. Deis. Deizeru. Fun. Des. Deizeru Fundes. It is. Your name is Diesel Fan. Perfect. I really struggle with that. Little Monkey has got Anna Oribu. Nah. That one's a hard one. Wait. Yeah, the Arabic I struggle with reading. It means I am Arabic too. Awesome. That's Arabi, of course. Ana Arabi. I didn't recognize the last word. I thought I recognized the middle word, but I was a little bit struggling there. Hey Dan, how's it going? Great to have you with us. So yeah, as you can see, I'm a noob in most languages. Most of the time, oh, little monkey is going. Catch you later, little monkey. It's great to have you here. So yeah, as you can see, I've got the typical traits of an Aries. I start learning these things, and instead of getting very good, I end up getting a little bit of an understanding, and then I start moving on to something else. Can I speak Korean? No, but I have been watching Chef on my fridge recently, and I've just come in from watching an episode of Culinary Class Wars. Korean has some amazing stuff on Netflix, all the Korean stuff. Loved Squid Game. Yeah, okay, let me take a break here and see how you guys are. We've got a bit of a community here now, so if anyone wants to talk, more than welcome. Let's see how everyone else is doing. I love the support here. I will head back to explaining a bit more about Aries in a second. Whoops, don't mean to cause the wobbles. 1 sec. Just gonna adjust myself quickly. That's it. The gamer's got football training in a few hours. That's cool. Awesome. It said in Korean, I'm an amazing YouTuber. Can I tell a fact about myself? I am an Aries. That's a pretty good fact to try and keep it back on topic. Sensation fan was just asking as well. Yeah, I'm an Aries. So that puts me at the Aries, the one at the 9 o'clock position. That's given me the traits of always starting things, never finishing them, and starting many different things through having a short attention span. And I tend to get self-obsessed quite easily. So it's really, when I was doing research on all of the different signs of the zodiac, I plummeted into Aries more than any of the others. Found out way more than I needed to know. And when it comes down to things I could share, like Aries, if it's part of the body, is the head. Like you've got the Taurus would be the neck and shoulders. Aries ruled by Mars, Taurus ruled by Venus. They say men are from Mars, women are from Venus. They say that the head of the house would be the man, but the woman is the neck that guides him, which would make sense if you follow the pattern of the head and neck in the zodiac. 1 sec, can I see the board? Yeah. Diesel fan can speak a bit of Latin also, but I have started doing Latin on the Duolingo app, but can't say very much, can't remember very much of it, to be fair. 1 second, can I pull this back any? So yeah, if I'm able to pull that back, should be able to get the full board on there. So this is all backwards. This is all written on here. Oops. This is all written on here in reverse because everything on this camera, as I've got it facing me, is flipped it. So I actually had to write all of these backwards, doing all backwards letters for it. You got the basic run through, the Aries, the Taurus, the Gemini, the Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So a quick run through of what they're meant to represent. So Aries is the ram, which is a mountain sheep. The Taurus is the bull. Gemini is the twins. Cancer is a crab. Leo is the lion. Virgo is the virgin, often referred to as Virgin Mary. The sigil there also looks like the signature for Mary. Got Libra, which is the scales. Scorpio, which is the scorpion. Sagittarius, which is a centaur with a bow and arrow depicted in the glyph. Capricorn is a goat, where it is represented sometimes with a goat turning into a fish. And Aquarius being the water bearer, often represented by a man. Pisces is the two fish, so you got the two flipper dippers. The Diesel fan is gone. He's saying goodbye. Catch you later, Diesel fan. The gamer self-love thy stream. Thou self-love thy stream and thy streamer. Awesome. Catch you later, gamer. He's just gone. One of the zodiac signs are fading away. I realize I did this a couple of days ago for another presentation that I did. Quid agis the optimum video ludum in opinionis. I appreciate that. In your opinion, this is the optimum video. Like, I recognize a few of those words, quite a few, but no more words than I do sentences in Latin. Yeah, so this is the way that the zodiac is set up. I have triple X temptation as well. I'll catch you later. It's been good to have you here. So the Aries representing the head. Inside the head, they will have the different parts of the brain that they represent as well. So the cerebrum has the ram in it from the Aries. The cerebellum has the bull. The Gemini would be the trigeminal nerve, and these are just like the Sagittarius would be the hippocampus, as we mentioned earlier. These are just different parts of the brain that are named based on the zodiac, for this language at least, but it happens in quite a few different languages. Once I've learned how to speak better, rather than just learning the odd word from each language, I'll try and do a presentation on that. But for now, when it comes to the links with the wording, I can point out the links in English and maybe the odd word in other languages. So, with Aries being related to the cerebrum, it's the part of the brain that people born in the sign of Aries tend to spend the most time in. Now, this is just a gentle guiding influence from the planetary alignments on the day you were born. It is not something that is a fixed thing. It's not like if you're an Aries, you can only exist within the mind and not within the heart, not within the gut. There's many different parts of your body that you can think and feel with. So the way that Aries tends to be, we're inside our own heads a lot of the time. You find a lot of the time Aries tend to be always thinking about something. There's always something going on. If you talk to an Aries, they're often preoccupied with their own thoughts as well as listening to the thoughts around them. I've recognized this and tried to find ways around it, but it is definitely something that I feel it's definitely like in ways a handicap when you're trying to focus and pay attention, especially if you're trying to learn something. I remember when I was listening to Zan Griffin, who done a Zodiac album, and I was listening to a couple of the others, which I thought were brilliant. Welcome back, Temptation fan. It's great to have you back. So yeah, I was saying when I was listening to Zan Griffin, who did a Zodiac album, and I was listening to the lyrics that he'd placed in different songs, and I thought how perfect they were to suit the vibe of the different sign. And I was curious as to what Aries would be like. And as I listened to it, I was waiting for the words to kick in, and it started out with like a very fiery, almost Indian sounding rap beat, which was quite a good kind of club dance track. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. I was waiting for the words to come in. And then as it started going through the song, it dawned on me that there are no words because Aries already have the words going on inside their heads. Aries find it very difficult to get out of their own heads. So Aries represents the head. Pisces represents the feet, so it's the other end of the zodiac wheel. So I tend to find that with the Aries and Pisces balance, it's like the head in the clouds meets the feet on the ground. There's the Aries that are a bit more like the dreamers. The Pisces are more like we need to keep our feet firmly placed and really work out what's going on here before progressing. For the feet, it's very important that you find your ground, find the sturdy ground to walk on before you make a move, because you know that everything else is relying on you in that way. The Aries, we are like the heads that kind of charge ahead. The out of the animals, the ram would be the one that breaks down the barriers so that the other animals are then able to escape or advance through them. So with Aries, you tend to find a lot of Aries would make breakthroughs when it comes to their field that they work in. They tend to be the ones that are not afraid to go their own direction. And it's like they will do things a bit like the ram, as other animals look at them and go, really? You're going to wear that big fluffy coat? You're going to wear that big woolly white coat in this weather? I don't know if I'd do that, but the ram does things his way. And this also creates some interesting links when you have the Capricorn. The Capricorn and the ram, they're often battling for the number one spot. So you have the Aries and the Capricorn. The Aries is number one on the zodiac. The Capricorn is number 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. They're battling for the number one spot. The Aries is the start of the astrological year as it comes round to the 21st. And in Capricorn, you would get the start of the year for the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar as the new year begins in April 1st. In January 1st. So that's another battle for number one spot. The Aries, the ram that likes the sheep that likes to climb the mountain, and the goat also known for climbing the mountain. So they're both very similar in terms of what they do. The goat is a lot more, whereas the Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. The Capricorns tend to be very structure based. They need things to work to a structure for things to be made properly, done properly. They would always be focused on time and time structure. And Aries, for me anyway, I've noticed people that are born in the first half of Aries, which is like coming up to the end of the year, they tend to always be late for everything. Whereas people born in April, like the second half of Aries, tend to always turn up early for things. So it's a very different base for me being like the other end of Aries for being born on the 25th. It's very close to the 21st and just before April. So I tend to be very late for things the majority of the time, even when it's just outside of my control. There's a lot of times that I could take personal responsibility for, and there's a lot of other things that are just sheer out of your control, just happens to be the influence from around. So the link between Aries and Taurus is often you get the Aries, which is the cerebrum, and the Taurus, which is the cerebellum. So you'd have the cerebellum is the part of the brain that controls, receives all of the messages from the rest of the body. So you know about the rest of the body's physiology, everything that's going on there. And the RAM's brain is the thinking brain. RAM even is the acronym for random access memory if you're looking at computers. So it tends to fit the same RAM theme where you'll be using the thinking part of your brain and back and forth in it with the body, the cerebellum telling you about how the rest of the body feels. So when you have the RAM bull going on in your head, that is the RAM and the bull. So this is the relationships between them. You've got Aries and Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. Aries is a fire sign. So the fire tends to fuel the air. Conversations I've had with Geminis could go on for hours because it's fuel for the fire. It's a brilliant combination of thinking with the Gemini that tends to be their motto would be like, I think. So that seems to be the balance between the Aries and the Gemini. So the other fire signs, I've got a little bit of Leo in me. Leo rising on my chart. The Leo is representing of the heart, as in the lion heart. So you have the head and the heart, which are often referred to in the Bible. There was something about the only two worthy of opening the seven seals are the lamb and the lion, which would be the Aries and the Leo. It's representing those that are thoughtful and those that are caring. So it's not saying that only Aries and Leo would get in here. It's more the breaking of the seal would be done by those who are able to use their thoughts or use their heart in such a way as none of your star sign dictates to you what you can and can't use. This is basically all of us. We have all of these within our being because this exists in just about everything that exists. It's a sort of fingerprint, if you will. It's people's syncretized compilation of all of the knowledge that they've been able to confirm from different fields of study. Sensation fan is asking, am I from the USA? I'm actually from the UK, but I've got a very strange accent. Yeah, Dan's got it. So yeah, you guys are also welcome to talk in the live stream. Like, I mean, I'll read out messages that are directed at me, but if you fancy talking amongst yourselves, I won't take offense. I know some streamers, they try and prevent the topic from going off in the live chats, but I've always been a part of those live chats for years, and I found that they can be some of the most entertaining things, like especially when you get different characters turning up, different personalities turning up, can be very, very heartwarming. There's been some amazing moments over on my friend's channel when he was still running his channel on Imagine Freely Twin Flames. So yeah, from the UK, but with a very strange accent. I was raised by TV, so I think I've picked up a lot of American, half Irish, so got a little bit of the Irish twinge. Not enough to have the cool Irish accent, but they say things like film, but definitely enough for it to sound like a strange English accent. So yeah, I've got the board here. I don't think I really need this as such. The Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the martial planet, so it's like the god of war. Mars is in Mardi, which is today, Tuesday, is Tears Day in English, which is the um, the Norse god of war, as well as Chu, which is the Anglo-Saxon god of war, which is the same equivalent. That's where we get the Tuesday in Tuesday from. Like all of the days of the week are based on the 7 visible luminaries in the sky that were visible years ago. So you got Monday, which is Moon Day. You got Tuesday, which is Tears Day, is God of War. Wednesday, which is Woden's Day, which is Odin's Day, which is Mercredi in French, which would be, well, in Latin languages, variants of, which is Mercury. Then Thursday, Thor's Day would be Jerde, which is Jupiter's Day. There's Freya's Day, which is Friday, which is Vendredi, which is Venus's Day. Saturday is Saturn's Day, and the Sunday is Day of the Sun. They're all the visible planets in the sky that were visible many years ago, before people had managed to come up with telescopes. And Dan says he was raised by the Teletubbies. Dipsy. Awesome. At least it was the sensible Teletubby. Could have been much worse. I say sensible. Wasn't he the one that had the... Anyway. Yeah, I've only got 43 subs, Sensation fan. Honestly, they shoot up. Once I got past 50 subs, it's kept growing. I think I'm over 100 now. It was 101 when you subscribed earlier. Yeah, honestly, it starts. I'll have a look at your stuff when I get a chance. I'll go on and see what you do. But honestly, once it gets past that 50 mark, you start doing live streams. A lot of people tend to join. As Dan's saying, only 2 weeks ago, I had 38, and I'd been like that for months. It had been like steadily increasing. And then all of a sudden, I got way more views and subs from one video that I made than I expected. And since then, I've just been able to come on and get practice at live streaming, because it's a lot easier when you can make the video. You can edit out the bits that you don't like. Now I've got that extra pressure where I've just got to really focus on what I'm saying to try not to mess it up too much. And it's quite good because I've not done too much preparation apart from doing the board. There's a lot else is just winging it. Back in the early days, I used to do stand-up comedy, where I was doing very dark stand-up comedy, very dark and rude stuff. And I was under the impression that what I was doing was making light of dark subjects to try and get people to laugh at even the darkest places. But as time went on, realized that it was more just a part of the attention-seeking side of the Aries. And I did find that the shock value and everything was quite popular at the time, especially as Jimmy Carr and Frankie Boyle were two of most people's favorite comedians at the time. But yeah, the main idea of this chat was about Aries. Gonna stop on the random babblings about my past. I don't tend to do that comedy anymore or even promote it. It's just I now try and use my mind to present things that will help people in other ways. I usually like telling people my story on here. You're welcome, Sensation fan. Post them away in here. I won't read it aloud if it's a dark and rude one, but I'm sure the people in the chat will appreciate it. So then, yeah, a fake humor joke. I just realized the misprint. Of course, it would be a dark one. You're welcome to post these in the chat. If it's too dark, you may end up finding your comment removed. So it's do exercise caution on that. But like if it's a little naughty, then of course there's people there that will appreciate it. I try and do my best to stick to the light-hearted things these days, but I'm aware of the dark. I'm aware of trying to make light of dark situations. So, oh, awesome! It looks like Dan's just subscribed to your temptation, so you'll be there before you know it. So yeah, the Aries is ruled by Mars, which is the god of war. If you flip the M upside down in Mars, you actually get wars, which I think is pretty cool. So the Mars is often associated with things like martial law. That's to do with soldiers being in control of the policing of the state. And martial arts tend to be deadly arts. Martial is about being able to take on an opponent. So the Mars is actually an anagram of rams, which would be many Aries, many sheep, many mountain sheep. So rams are uncastrated adult male sheep generally. Also, another anagram of rams and Mars is arms, which is what you would take with you into battle. That's good, but I'm not reading that out. I like that. So sorry for knocking the camera there for those of you who have motion sickness. Will do my best. I've got this tripod here, which is a present from my partner. It's a very good tripod, but it's sadly just one wire. So if I knock it, it does wobble a little bit. If you bear with me, I'm going to have to learn to stop doing that. So yeah, Mars, rams, and arms. And arms is the like word that you would use for weapons that you bring to a war. Also, your arms tends to be what you'd use for fighting. I mean, Aries, we tend to use our heads. We'll just ram in with a headbutt, but it's quite appropriate that you've got the arms. That's also another link between the Aries and Gemini, as Gemini represents the two arms. You've got the twins, so it tends to be things that you get with the first sense of duality. So before weapons, we used to fight with our arms, legs, and heads, and Aries rules the head. And also, a ram's horn was used to start battles. People would blow into the ram's horn, and it would make the noise that lets you know that the battle is about to commence. So Aries means ram in Latin, and ovis means sheep, and ovaries contains both the words ovis and Aries. And if you look at a picture of ovaries, I'm going to see if I can get this up on my tablet actually. It's much better if you can have a visible image to go by as well. So here's a picture. Can I get that as full screen? That's not full screen. That's close enough. So this would be a picture of ovaries. And if you notice, you've got like a ram's horns in the way that they're formed. So they're ovaries, which I find quite interesting. The ovaries produce eggs each month, part of the menstrual cycle. It's just quite fitting that the first state of the sun, as the sun enters into Aries, would also include the moon cycle and its attributes. So the sun, which is Sol, and the moon are inseparable. They are like the polar opposites of each other. You've got the sun, which is the positive, and the moon, which is negative. So the sun is what gives us life. It provides all of the energy for all of the plants, all of the trees that feed us with the fruits and the veg, or feed the animals that then become part of a Sunday roast or something along those lines. You'd have all of the energy initially comes from the sun. The sun also gives us vitamin D into our bodies. We're able to absorb it. It's able to give us life, basically. The moon, it helps things to deteriorate. You'll see things like, especially when it's a full moon, you get the people tend to turn into what they call lunatics, as the moon is called Luna in Latin. So the full moon is when lunatics come out. You get a lot of police and ambulance they find services. They find that their workload doubles or triples on a full moon. That's when the most people are caught by the side of the brain that reacts to the guidance from the luminaries. So this again, it's not being controlled as such. It's just down to, if you're not of making conscious decisions in your life, the energies that guide you would guide you to be acting like a lunatic on the full moon. Dan's just put Luna with ticks, very much so. It's interesting that tick is bloodsucker as well. So you hear like in words like politics, which poly meaning merry and ticks, many bloodsuckers. So like ticks always has that kind of link there. You've got the idea of ticks, they're these little annoying insects, they're quite irritating, but so that's how it can kind of feel when you get this energy, the lunatic energy. You got the, this isn't to say that the moon is bad energy at all. This is needed. This is much needed. This is like the balance of the male and the female. Even if you had like the dad that's saying it's okay to do whatever you want to the child, there's the mum that's being a bit more grave with it and saying, no, let's be a bit more down to earth here. Let's, you know, the moon is the closest thing to the earth. It's the closest luminary to the earth. So it's a lot more down to earth and a lot more grounded when it comes to keeping things sensible and not allowing everything to grow too much. If we just had the sun, everything would constantly grow and just strangle itself. It would just completely be way too much. You need things to decay as well in order to keep balance. And that's where the moon comes in. That's where the moon helps give light to the things like mushrooms, which will help other things to decay and pass on into the next form of life. So there is, I forgot where I was there. Okay, yeah. So you've got the word androgen, which is from andros, meaning man or warrior, which kind of fits for Mars. It's used in men and women to form genes. And then estrogen, which is from estro, which is Greek for gadfly or frenzy, which is a bit like a little bloodsucker. It just turns up and starts biting. It's gadflies are like the horsefly or the botfly or the warblefly. Go into the farmer's livestock and start driving them into a frenzy. So that's the name that was given to the estrus cycle, which is causing irritations through different hormones like the estrogen and the what was the other one? Progesterone. So it's the estrogen and progesterone that women feel during their time of the month. It's the spikes in the hormone that really cause irritation. So if you imagine a gadfly biting you, that's what women have to put up with at that time of the month, at the time in the menstrual cycle. And that would represent like an accurate kind of how the hormones would make you feel. So if you're maybe running out of patience with someone like that, that's understandable if that's the kind of feelings that you're getting. You imagine trying to keep your calm in a situation with a gadfly constantly biting your bottom. So that's the moonstraw cycle, which is pretty much related to the ovaries, which is the what the Aries ram looks like, as shown in the other picture. Then you got Mars, often associated with Mary, as Mary had a little lamb, and its fleece was white and snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the little lamb would surely go, as Mars and Aries tend to have that link. You'll often see the mother with the child. You've got the Jesus known as the Lamb of God, and then you have Mother Mary. So that's always Mars and Aries being together in the symbolism. So a lot of things use this. So it's in the Bible. It's in a lot of different syncretized uh, works of knowledge that keep people on a certain level where the real will recognize it as real knowledge. Like those that understand what to look for will be able to see it without it being so obvious. The people that need it to be obvious and spelled out to them, they end up missing this kind of thing, which is how I was. I often missed these things until one day I caught Santos Bonacci talking about it. After that, went deep into research, and everything that I've seen so far has seemed to come up as the people that put these things in place, whether through divine inspiration or through a lot of intelligence, it's all encoded. So Mary is an anagram of army, which also fits into the martial sort of theme. And Mars is also relating to the Marines. Mars, I believe, I've heard it being called a water planet. Mars also rules over Scorpio, which is a water sign, as well as Aries. Um, Moses is based on Mars. Mars is he parted the waves. So that's a linear action, like the straight line that comes out of the glyph of Aries. The Aries, of Mars, is a circle with the arrow, like the masculine sign. That would be the old glyph for Mars. And osmosis is about water being pushed through semi-permeable membranes, which is what marines will use to make water drinkable when they're out in the seas. So osmosis is from the Greek word osmos, meaning push, and it's quite interesting that in osmosis they have Moses in the word. So is that a coinkydink? I think not. The lamb, if you flip the B at the end, becomes lamp, which would make sense for the Lamb of God, as Jesus is called the light of the world. And then lamp is an anagram of palm. So palms of the hand is the end of the arms. They're the parts that are able to hold on to the weapons. So this is more loose now, but still fits the kind of theme. So there's the, excuse me, Aries tend to be good leaders of things, which I don't think I enjoy being a leader as such. So I definitely don't feel that the that side of the Aries is manifested in my being. I think it's more, if pushed, I can make decisions in such a way that would be trustworthy. But in terms of being a dependable leader, that's something that takes a lot of practice and a lot of working at. So that's something that maybe one day in the future, but definitely doesn't come natural. But they do say that Aries do make good leaders, as they tend to have very martial heads. They end up becoming the heads of authority, which I've never felt any kind of connection with. I wouldn't want to become like a police officer or like the. I like to go my own way and be the head of my own company, but not be in a position where I've got that level of responsibility. I mean, I'm here online doing streaming, so it's probably a bit strange, but I don't even like hearing the word influencer. It's like don't think I'd like to put that down as a job. This is like a hobby for me. I come here and share my dreams with people. I share my uh, different parts of my journey with people, and I share things that I've learned along the way, the different sides of symbology. And I try and always show people the links between things, because seeing other people done that is what helped me. I managed to turn my life around from being a down and out drug addict that was heavily into alcohol, drinking to the point where my face was going numb. And since then, I've managed to find fasting, and I've managed to find eating healthier food, and I've managed to find a much better rise into things which wouldn't have been made possible if other people hadn't shared their journeys and shared some of this information that I saw. I think it's important to be able to get a wide scope of information, to be able to make your own mind up about things. There's a lot of religions that tend to look at what I'm talking about as if it's blasphemous, whereas it's more looking at signs and symbolism that's been used over the years, gain a wider scope. You can always look at the knowledge and then decide later on that you don't really subscribe to the ideas, but I still think it's a lot more healthy if you get a wider scope of the knowledge, rather than listening to people that try and shut down certain sides of it as if they don't think that you're smart enough to be able to make up your own mind about things. That tends to be what I see from a lot of the churches. There's even some of the churches try and lock away the books. They don't even want you reading the New Testament. There's a lot of churches that were trying to do that. I've heard from people about the Quran. There's the uh, Newman Ali Khan was talking about in Pakistan, where they used to tell you that if you weren't qualified to read it, then you shouldn't read it because you'll be misguided. And you have to be wary of people that try and restrict your access to information and then tell you what's what. I think that's a very dangerous situation to be in. That's how you can end up blindly following. And blind followers tend to end up in cults, and that is dangerous behavior. The kind of thing that I'm looking at is just looking at little links and dinks between things, little things that come up and you can think, that's quite interesting, but not subscribe to it or blindly follow into any of it. I don't think any of these star signs or symbols should, like the planets that rule them, should be idolized or worshipped. I think that if you want a connection with a higher being, go for your higher self, go for source, go for God. That's the best one to have the connection with. Aside from that, these are all interesting ways. In the Bible, it even talks about, are you able to read the Nazarene, the stars? Are you able to read the stars in the way that navigators would? I'm going to take a second here to have a look and see if my live chat is frozen, as it has done that to me in the past. I don't want to be ignoring people. And yep. Nice one, Dan. Hey, Saitama, how's it going? We have One Punch Man with us. It's great to have you here. So I've got a little presentation here that I've been doing about Aries. And Aries looks like the ovaries. You can see the ram's horn here. So I've just been talking. Saitama, I have seen you before. Of course you have. I remember you from last time. You came with Monkey and Rimuru. That was on my second ever live stream, I believe. It's great to have you back. Yeah, just been doing a little talk about Aries and the different links between Aries and other things. So already linked Aries to the head, to the part of the brain would be the cerebrum, to the part of the body it would be the head, to the feminine ovaries, which ovaries has the word Aries in it. You've also got a few other interesting words that contain Aries that are linked to Aries being a martial planet, because you get like Mars being the ruler of Aries, and Mars, you get the word militaries, which has Aries in it, which is related to the military, which would be an army. You got missionaries, mercenaries, which sounds a bit like Mars and Aries, and paramilitaries. And paramilitaries actually has Ram in it as well. as Aries, which is quite good. So that's like double Aries, as Aries is the ram. Way careful. Fairies has Aries in it as well. That's a brilliant one, Dan. I love that. It does. And I do think that we can be fairies at times. Think that we're often into the mythical side of things. Like you get two different types of Aries. You get the facts, figures, and logic left brain, and you get the lore, legend, and magic right brain. Saitama, can I be a moderator? I mean, possibly. It's not something I'd be able to do right here and now, but you're welcome to join if you feel like helping to monitor the chat, being able to help when there's going to be an influx of trolls. I imagine at a certain point when I reach a certain number of audience, that's when you get a lot of trolls coming in. That's I'm gonna have to do it outside here because I'm a bit noobish when it comes to technology. It's something I'm gonna have to Google. So yeah, for now, gonna carry on talking about Aries, like the self-obsessed Aries that I am being today. This is not often that I indulge in this kind of behavior. I often cringe a little bit when it comes to talking about myself after I became aware that it's like something that we do. Does I will, Saitama, I will. Will you'll just have to bear with me for the moment there. So we got Aries, the ram. The cerebrum is quite interesting because it contains the words Sarah and Abraham. Cerebrum. So it's like when you read in the Bible about Abraham and his wife Sarah, that's showing that there's something going on in that passage that's relating to the. It's what I'm getting dared now to talk about brain rot. So I guess I can find a way of working this in. But yeah, you get like things that would be in that passage of the Bible be relating to the brain. This is true. Christina is my top moderator. She is my Siddiqui. She is the number one that has supported this channel since the beginning. There's definitely no topping that. Dan here is definitely the number two. He's supported me almost just as long. He's been there from, I think, the beginning, maybe just after. So these are my two moderators for the moment. Saitama, you would be the third. So yeah, I'm gonna get back onto the Aries subject before I give people brain rot from listening to me. Told you I'd work it in. The Sarah Abram being referenced in the Bible tends to indicate that there's something cerebral in that verse, something to pay attention to. I think it's important for people to read these kind of things for themselves. So I'm not going to try and tell you what the Bible says or interpret it. I'm going to do what a lot of churches won't tell you to do. And just, if you're interested, read for yourself. There's no better judge than you. I know it's quite tempting in the world of AI to just get the answers from an external source, but really, there is nothing better than your own brain. The human brain is like the pinnacle of biological creation, which, if you look back to early things like the pyramids, these things all came about using the human brain. These are things that they try and claim are aliens because they don't want you to believe that your brain is capable of that. They want you to watch TV, brain rot, basically. They want you to take things in that are not good for you. The things you ingest with your brain, they are called TV programs because they are programming your brain. And you notice the word RAM in program as well. It affects the random access memory because then the things that you go to remember and pluck out are going to be things that you've seen on TV, which I'm not really trying to say anything bad about choosing to watch TV. I've watched a lot of TV. I was watching Culinary Class Wars, which was an awesome Korean program just before I come here. I think that it's all about what you watch. There's a lot of things out there that they try and put out there as things that will degrade your brain, things that will cause you to, like EastEnders, like the things that will program you to think a certain way. Even a lot of the programs that I watch, I enjoy them for what they are, but I'm aware of what they are and I'm not falling victim to them. Like placement, product placement, advertising. I can watch these things without then feeling the need to go out and buy the things that they're selling or subscribing to the ideas that they're pushing. Like there's a lot of things that I don't believe that happen. Like when it comes to evolution theory and things like that. Like I don't believe that we came from monkeys, but I do see that the symbology is there, especially when it comes to Aquarius. Aquarius in the um, Eastern zodiac would be Year of the Monkey if you syncretize them together. So I can see the link between man and monkey. Aquarius is often a man when it's represented in the Western zodiac. You often see the four cherubim, which is the bull, the lion, the eagle, which is Scorpio, as it's the bird that fits that same theme, and Aquarius, which is represented by the man. So yeah, got Sarah and Abraham gave birth to Isaac, which was said to be happiness. His name means happiness in Hebrew, or his name means laughter, actually. And they reckon laughter comes from the cerebrum, the Sarah Abram. So that's one of the links. The rest of the things that are in there will be up to you whether you decide to read through the Old Testament. If you are reading through the Old Testament, it's interesting if you read it from a different perspective. There's the literal, which is the left perspective, and then there's the right perspective. So it's more creative in the way that you would think. So the left deals with the law, legend, and magic. The right deals with the facts. The left deals with the facts, figures, and logic. The right deals with the law, legend, and magic. So they're the ones that were, if you read the New Testament, you see Jesus talking about casting your net to the right, which is an indication to the reader that if you were to look at it like the Bible is a puzzle book, you're supposed to be looking at it from the perspective of solving puzzles and dealing with the creative works. And once you start looking at that, suddenly it doesn't become so boring anymore. Because you look at the beginning parts of Genesis and it talks about this person begat this person, begat this person, and it's like, oh God, this is going on forever. But when you realize that each name has a meaning, that the names in the first place have a name meaning, and if you look up the name meanings, you can often find what was associated in there. And then you can make a sentence out of who begat who, and it tells a story. And once you realize that there's things like that encoded in there, it becomes a lot more fun to read. So with Sarah and Abraham giving birth to Isaac, and Isaac meaning laughter, and your cerebrum being the one that enables you to laugh, you realize then that the cerebrum being part of the neocortex, which was the latest part of our brain to develop, it's something that enables human beings to laugh at ourselves and to laugh at others. It's the part of the brain, they say that laughing in general is when you feel like you understand something, and especially if it's something that is stupid or someone else doesn't understand it. So where other people do things that are a little bit silly, you can laugh because you understand why it's silly. Like one of the jokes I made years ago that's a bit silly. There was a farmer that had taken some uh there's a farmer that took some mushrooms, and he asked his sheep, oh, he started talking to his sheep, and his sheep responded, maybe you should drink some of my milk, as it will help you to. No, it wasn't a sheep. I'm getting confused now. I don't even know my own joke. I'm getting confused because it's all about Aries. It wasn't. It was a cow. So what did the cow say to the farmer? Was, maybe you seem to have taken some powerful hallucinogenic mushrooms. Why don't you drink some of my milk? It should help counteract some of the hallucinogens, as it stops neurotransmitters from entering your brain so quickly. So the farmer drank some of his milk and went, wow, you're right, but how did you know that? And the cow replied, moo. just silly. But then when you understand the concepts behind it, the understanding of it is what produces the laughter. The cerebrum is what gives birth to Isaac, meaning laughter in Hebrew. Once you start seeing that names are important as well as the setups in the stories, then it opens a whole new world. The Bible can be read literally, and you can take it for its literal word if you choose to. But there's also other layers that you can use when reading it. There's many other things that you can read from it. They say there's at least 7 different ways that you can read the Bible, which is literal, esoteric, uh, allegoric. Like, there's a lot of different things that you wouldn't expect to be in there. Like, if I pull up the zodiac wheel again, you may remember Jesus talking about, you have the story of him feeding the thousands with the bread and fish. Well, you got Virgo, which is the virgin who collects the wheat, which makes the bread. And opposing Virgo, you have Pisces, the fish. So that'd be the bread and fish that he would be teaching with, especially as you have, they'd be the sixth. So it starts with Aries, and you got Taurus is the second, Gemini is the third, Cancer is the fourth, Leo is the fifth, Virgo is the sixth sign. And then on the bottom, if you were to count Libra, which is opposite Aries, as the first, Scorpio is the second, Sagittarius is the third, Capricorn is the fourth, Aquarius is the fifth, and Pisces is the sixth. And the reason why this is interesting is you also look at the Bible talking about the world being made in 6 days. So the first 6 days, and then God rested on the seventh. So if you take the 6 and the 6, you're learning about the top side of the zodiac and the bottom side of the zodiac. So it's all pretty much just 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And the education that was given through Jesus feeding the thousands with the bread and fish, it's to represent knowledge. During the Lord's Prayer about the Lord who gives us our daily bread, the daily bread being talking of manna, really, but that's a conversation for a later date. It's more the ideas that come to mind when you keep your mind pure. You manage to get the daily bread, which will just, you'll feel things. I feel this usually after doing a lot of fasting. The answers find you. The answers to your questions just appear to you as if like a reward for giving it space to appear. If you create the space for something, it will manifest in that space. That's something that I think is from Hermetic wisdom, as well as the as above, so below, which also fits into the zodiac, the as above, so below. So they tend to have interesting, as this is all about Aries, I should go back to Aries, the link between Aries and Libra. So Aries, the ram, Libra, the scales. Libra, as in liberty. So it's about freedom. So Aries tends to be about the head of authority. So it's about do as you're told. It's tyranny. So you got Aries, which is the martial one, Libra, which is the compromising one. The you find Libra in words like library. It's people that are interested in learning, reading. It's about peace. So you got Aries is war, Libra is peace. Libra is also ruled by Venus. So that's the male and female. So if you had Adam and Eve, Adam would be Aries in the AM, and Eve would be Libra, Le Ivre in the evening. So they are the two opposites. You've got war and peace. So even when you got their children, Cain and Abel, Cain the firstborn would have been war, Abel would have been peace. Cain killed Abel in the Bible. This is Cain lives in the dog eat dog world, canines, and Abel is more the sheep herder, the one that is looking after others, and that's the war and peace balance that you get. The Aries being the martial one, So they're about conquest. The Librans are about compromise. So it's very much providing a mirror image of what the attribute is. So the symmetry that's within this, it goes all the way around. You could look at Taurus with Scorpio. You could look at Gemini and Sagittarius. Gemini and Sagittarius, actually, Gemini is the twins. You got twins like Pollux and Castor. And uh, if you've seen the film Face Off, which was between John Travolta's character and Nicolas Cage's character, this is going back a few years, but it's a classic. So Face Off, you have the um, Castor Troy, which was Nicolas Cage's character, which represents Gemini. He was a bit of a two-faced character, so it represents the two polar sides of the Gemini. In fact, Gemini, you'll see even the word Gemini has two eyes in it to represent the schizophrenic type nature of the thoughts and the being. And Castor Troy was a representation of that. He was a bit of a crazy villain. Then you had Sean Archer, and the Archer being represented by Sagittarius. So these are opposite each other in the zodiac wheel, and the bow and arrow in the Sagittarius for being where they get Sean Archer. So that's a interesting fact for some of the Sagittarians that were here earlier. The opposites tend to have a lot of links. You've got the autumn equinox happens in Libra as well, which opposes the spring equinox that we have in Aries. So in Aries is where the clocks will go forward, and in Libra is where the clocks will go back. So this is the balance between them. You've got Cancer, which is the Tropic of Cancer, which is the sun at its peak, the sun at its highest point. Cancer is ruled by the moon, which is said to be closest to the Earth in the old system. And then Capricorn, which was ruled by Saturn, is said to be the furthest from the Earth in the old system. Now, obviously, with the aid of telescopes, we've seen past Saturn. So we know that there's Neptune, Pluto, Uranus. These things, they come much further. But in the old world, it would have been the moon and Saturn. That's what's visible to the naked eye. These are the things that are opposing each other on the rulings of Cancer and Capricorn. The moon is closest to the Earth. So Cancer as a sign represents home life and your loved ones. So, like your parents, your mother, and Cancer carries that mother energy. Cancer is the part of the body is the breast, which nurtures the young and is very much a part of the mother and being ruled by the moon as you get the menstrual cycle. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, who is Kronos, who is Father Time. And that would be like if you were to look at Cancer as Mother Earth or Mother Nature, you got the two opposites, Capricorn and Cancer, that go together to make the two opposing ends, like the range of where the sun rises up to and drops down to in its yearly cycle. That means you have Father Time with Mother Nature that have this child that is the wheel, or the sun, even. The sun is a name used for a male child. The uh, summer solstice happens in Cancer, and the winter solstice happens in Capricorn on the 25th of December. Some would know that as Christmas Day, as the syncretism over the years has put this as like a what they call a pagan holiday, but then pagan just used to mean country dweller. This was just the traditions that people used to adhere to back in the days when they followed the old collection of knowledge before it was placed into the scriptures. So this is going back many years. I don't believe that there's should be any animosity between religion and astrology. I think that the often, especially when you see the flags and the symbolism within them, they are one and the same. The just different ways of interpreting the same energy. And just like people could get deep into the scriptures and then decide that they want to form alliances with demons or the jinn or whatever dark entities there are, or believe that because there's a god, there is also a Satan, and they will go for the satanic energy. Satan and Saturn often have that kind of a shared vibe, even though things like Saturnalia back in Roman times were seen as a night of debauchery where people were to be doing as they please. On a much lesser extreme scale, you would get Saturday is often the day of Sabbath, which is where you would take the day of rest for yourself. Just do things for yourself rather than going around serving others as you are for the other 6 days. So that's the general vibe of the opposites. I find that a lot of what I've seen from astrology seems to fit perfectly with all of the people that I've met. But I am aware that not everyone will fit into these categories. There'll always be other things, and especially the conscious mind being able to make its own decisions in life and deciding to do things like without adhering to the energies that are placed upon you. It's almost like if you've got loads of friends encouraging you through peer pressure to do something, and you're the strong-minded one that will decide, I'm going to do what I want to do regardless of what people think of me. That's a very Aries trait, but all of us can have that. Like, I am the type of person that will choose to go my own way rather than pick the safe path that will have other people give me a lot of positive reaffirmation that I'm doing what the crowd would want me to do, which is why, in a way, I don't believe that I would be the kind of leader that people would want in that fashion.